Hello and welcome back to Assurance by David Barr Development. In this video, we're going to go over how to set up and evaluate your data in your tests. So there are three ways that we can set up data. We can set up a native NetSuite record, we can set up a custom record, and we can also set up a variable or a constant that is useful in our tests. So let's start with the first of those, the native NetSuite record. This is an inventory item. And you can see here that I am assigning the new record I'm creating to my item. And I'm assigning it the following values. Entity, COGS, asset, tax account, and item ID are all required fields. The unique 5 is just a custom function that's available to make a new value each time you run the test, because you can't have two items with the same ID. And so when we run this, it will create an item with those values. This inventory item might look weird, and you might be asking, how do I know whether it's item or inventory part, since those all appear different places in NetSuite. And what you want to do is use what's available in the record module's enum. So if that doesn't make any sense, click on Help. We can go to the Developers tab, SuiteScript modules, and I'm sure you're familiar with this documentation. Let's go to the record module and select the record type enum. So these are what NetSuite uses to identify all of its native records. So for consistency, we will use that too. So here we have inventory item like we saw in our test. If you want to build a sales order, maybe you don't know, is that transaction, is that sales order? Well, we can find it here that it is sales order. And so that is what we use. For custom records though, they don't appear in this list. And so in that case, you just want to use the internal ID that you give that record type. So for this, I set up a mapping custom record type over here. And so it's this ID assigned. It should always start with custom record and then whatever values you assign. And so in my setup values, I'm assigning two fields, external ID and internal ID, which correspond to these. And then finally, we have our constant. And here I just have an array of the numbers 1 through 4. This could be a string, a number, a Boolean, anything that you would assign to a variable in your scripts. And so I can run this in a minute and make sure that it creates each of these as we expect. When it comes to evaluating, we have also different rules for each, whether it's a NetSuite record or a constant that I'll go over in a moment. But for now, let's go ahead and run this and make sure that it creates what we expect. And so once I saved it, I'll click Run. This banner lets us know that it is in progress. And once it's complete, it should either come back with a green banner or a red banner, depending on whether it passes or fails. And so here we got success. So let's go ahead and look at that run to get some more detail on what happened. So we see it created an inventory item with a specific ID that we can go check, a custom record with specific ID that we can go check, as well as our constant. So let's just check the custom record just to keep it simple. And again, we're looking for ID number 201, and here we have 201. My page will finish loading with the external ID and internal ID that we wanted. Cool. So last little bit just to show evaluating. When we compare a NetSuite record, we are just checking the fields that are in the evaluate value. So notice we didn't check entity, we didn't check asset account. None of that matters. We just know that the COGS account is 212, and so it passed this test. When it comes to evaluating constants, we make sure that what is in values exactly matches the setup values. So if I only did an array 1, 2, 3, that would not match because this array does not match that array. And then finally, there are scenarios where you want to compare two values or do some other inline JavaScript, which we can do here. You just don't fill out the record type or record ID. This just executes as a statement and is either true or false. So in this case, I asked, does my constant include 2? And it does. That's valid JavaScript, and this array includes 2, so it passed. And so there are many ways to set up and evaluate data, but hopefully this gives you an introduction to feeling comfortable writing your own tests.